It's time once again to go down that road less traveled in cinema. That's right, it's Low Budget Binge. These are films that don't get TV spots or previews before the big movies. Hell, most of the time, you're only going to hear about them here. So let's start binging. Low Budget Binge is where we venture down the path less traveled and look at low budget, no budget, and sometimes international films that never get that top billing you see with the usual Hollywood fare. I'll indicate in the review down below where you can find these films along with their trailers. Here we go. Children of the Pines is streaming on demand and digital download from Freestyle Digital Media. It's written and directed by Joshua Morgan. Riley, played by Kelly Tapan, left home for college and hasn't been back. Attempting to cut herself off from her alcoholic and abusive father, John, played by Richard Cohen Lee, and enabling mother, Kathy, played by Danielle J. Bowman. But after her mother promises her that things have changed since she left 2 years ago, Riley decides to give her family one last chance and come home for the holidays. Upon arrival, Riley encounters her ex-boyfriend Gordon, played by Vas Provatakis, who reveals that he's been working for her father and often hangs around her parents' house, tending to their garden and maintaining the grounds. Put aback by her ex's unusual attachment to her parents, Riley is doubly shocked when she finds that her parents have adopted a pair of children, also named John and Kathy. Apparently, Riley's parents have found a new religion to follow, which involves some very strange beliefs and rituals. Directed and written by 17-year-old Joshua Morgan, Children of the Pines is an impressive debut. It deals with some pretty expansive and bizarre ideas, and I feel that with more experience, the young filmmaker could do some great things. The execution is where the film hits some rough patches. First and foremost, despite the fact that the acting is better than average for this type of low-budget film, there's no real build-in suspense, and never did I really feel as if any of the characters were in danger. Actor Kelly Tapan does a great job of being confused and downright shocked at what she sees when she returns home. This confusion is warranted because much of the plot is held back in favor of a big shockaroo ending, but because there is very little build to this reveal, the ending doesn't hit as hard as I feel was intended. Children of the Pines feels as if it still needs some time in the cooker. The dialogue is okay, but the story development, reveals, and revelations feel strangely paced, and once the shocker is revealed, the film just kind of ends, which left me wondering what the heck was going on. I understand that there is definitely a culty and witchy vibe responsible for the final developments, but the way the film is presented makes it all feel very convoluted. Tapan is the standout here, as she really is the person who feels like the mouthpiece for the audience, constantly asking what the hell is going on and not understanding why these people she once knew are now devoted cultists. The climax where Tapan's Riley must make some sort of choice is decently done, but there's a lot of muddy areas in this one. Still, I truly am interested in seeing what filmmaker Morgan has up his sleeve next. I feel if he develops his ideas and takes more consideration on where and when to reveal crucial details, he could be a very interesting storyteller, as there are a few decent ideas at play in Children of the Pines. Thine Ears Shall Bleed is new, streaming on Tubi. It's directed by Ben Bigelow and written by Ben Bigelow and William Bigelow. In the 1860s, Reverend Ezekiel Thatcher, played by Andrew Hovelson, his wife Sarah, played by Hannah Cabell, his blind son Luke, played by Duke Houston, and his rebellious daughter Abigail, played by Leah Zawada, head across the American Midwest in a horse and wagon in search of the perfect place to build a new church. Stopping in a forested valley, the family's horses go missing. When Ezekiel searches for them, he reaches the top of a mountain and hears a thunderous noise that he believes is the voice of God. Ezekiel believes this is a sign to build his church in the valley, though his wife fears he might be misguided. When a mysterious stranger named Woodrow Booker, played by Lucas Neer Verbrugge, appears out of nowhere, supporting Ezekiel's claims that this is a holy land, it appears something very ungodly is going on. Thine Ears Shall Bleed is an ambitious period piece that feels like a lo-fi The Witch. There seems to be a lot of authenticity going on, from the way the actors speak to the tools and instruments at their disposal. I wanted to really acknowledge the appreciation I have to filmmakers Ben and William Bigelow, as they clearly did their homework and wanted to make this feel as authentic as it could be. Now Thine Ears Shall Bleed is very simply shot and doesn't do much by way of making the film look more grainy or aged, but that's a choice, most likely, once again, done because of budget more than anything else. I'm sure if the Bigelows could have used an aged camera, much like Eggers did with The Witch and The Lighthouse, they would have. The story itself is all about misplaced faith. The frontier days were a desperate time, and the story really highlights how the family, mainly Ezekiel, grasps at explaining all trials and rewards they encounter as a sign from God. The fact that Ezekiel is so easily manipulated into believing this benevolent force is God himself shows how misguided he truly is. It's wonderfully acted, mainly by the two leads, Andrew Hovelston as Ezekiel and Lucas Neer Verbrugge as Woodrow. Hovelston has had bit parts in TV dramas and small indie films, but really does a convincing job of showing his obsessive belief that he has found a new Eden for his church to flourish. He has an intensity to his performance that really sells the crazy that could have been laughable coming from an actor that wasn't so convicted to the role. Neer Verbrugge is intense as well, though he has a bit more range to play with as he befriends the family and appeals to their charitable and simple nature. It's more of a subtle role, but it does have its more bombastic moments. Once the cat's out of the bag and we're made privy as to what's going on in the valley, it does get sort of goofy. The noise that the people are hearing begin coming from some of the cast's mouths, and the wide-mouthed, eyes-rolled-back look just lacks the power I think the film is trying to sell. I also think the film goes on a bit too long, and the climax and denouement could have been shaved a bit in order to be more effective and less talky. But the strong performances, the gradual way Ezekiel descends into madness, and the chaos that occurs in the family makes for an entertaining watch. This one achieves a lot with very little. If you like period piece religious horror, you may want to saddle up with Thine Ears Shall Bleed. Devil's Stay is new in select theaters from Welgo, USA. It's directed and written by Moon Sub Hyun. Park Shin-yang plays Cha Sang-do, a brilliant doctor attempting to heal his ailing daughter, Cha So-mi, played by Lee Ray, by purchasing a heart on the black market. Though the surgery is a success, So-mi becomes possessed by an ancient demon that resided in the transplanted heart. A priest named Father Ban, played by Lee Min-ki, is called in to perform an exorcism that ends in the death of So-mi. Though the family is mourning and beginning the 3-day ceremony of burying So-mi, Sung-do refuses to concede that his daughter is really dead. Meanwhile, Father Ban believes that while So-mi has been exorcised, the possessed heart hasn't been, and So-mi will rise in 3 days as the demon. Much drama and conflict ensues. Devil's Stay is a new exorcism flick from South Korea, always a potent place for horror, and it tries to flip the script by having the big exorcism at the beginning of the film. While the exorcism isn't successful, it does start the film out with a bang, and some of the most powerful scenes occur in these opening moments. Yes, this portion of the film does have all of the cliches with a girl tied to the bed, a little levitation, a little spew, and of course, a priest shouting while reading from the Bible. It's all there, but simply putting it at the beginning gave me hope that once the cliched stuff was out of the way, we'd get to some more original material. Unfortunately, that new material is bogged down with a whole lot of drama. Sung-do is overcome with grief and guilt for the death of his daughter, Father Ban is beating himself up over the botched exorcism, and the family is in mourning, filling the room with wails and tears every time they're on screen. While there are some creepy moments where Sung-do believes he's seeing signs that his daughter is still somehow alive, and Father Ban reads some foreboding chapters in historical tomes about demons, most of the time we're treated to a whole lot of angst, grief, sorrow, and drama. So much that I felt that it outweighed any of the possession stuff. The acting is good, I don't speak Korean, but it did feel as if the drama unfolding was done by capable players. Filmmaker Moon Sub Hyun adds a few moments of mood, showing depictions of hell and the afterlife in dreams and hallucinations, and a lot of the effects succeed in being both creepy and original, especially the scene where a giant moth crawls out of the dead girl's mouth. I also like the way the film integrates both medical and religious horror into the mix, as Devil's Stay does have elements of the 90s Eric Red, Jeff Fahey film Body Parts. But Devil's Stay is dramatic horror that is way too heavy on the drama for my tastes. Devil's Stay is a very well-made film on all parts, both in front and behind the camera, but if you're looking for some potent demon possession and exorcism, this film ain't it. Finally, let's end this low-budget binge with Deer Camp 86. It's streaming on Amazon Prime and Tubi. It's directed by L. Van Dyke Siboutszen and written by Bo Hansen and Riley Taurus. A group of beer-swigging buddies from Detroit gather together to go deer hunting in northern Michigan. On the night before their trip begins, they stop into a bar and meet indigenous bartender Star, played by Tina Joy, who flirtily yet sternly welcomes them to the hunting weekend. Later that night, after many beers have been swilled and a few bar fights have occurred, someone attacks and murders Star behind the bar. Not knowing about the murder, the good old boys get to the camp and start partying and hunting, but soon find their trip interrupted by a vengeful forest spirit out to avenge the murder of the indigenous woman. But has the spirit pinned the wrong guys with the murder? Deer Camp 86 is a blast and a half. It's a revenge tale. It's a mystery. It's a cabin in the woods flick, all schmelded together and peppered with fun and raunchy humor. The cast is made up of people I haven't seen, but they feel like a comedic troupe that have worked together for years. The guys' constant ripping on one another may shock some, but if you understand that this is the way they express how much they care about each other, their relationship is downright sweet at times, despite the raunchy words and innuendo. I especially liked the ultra-sarcastic J.J. Bidwell and the hilariously serious Josh Dominguez, but all of the actors have great comedic timing, yet differing and distinct personalities. It's a cast that makes you want to see them in other films, maybe taking on some different kind of monster in a different kind of situation next time. The film plays out like a Predator movie done by the Broken Lizard comedy troupe. Almost beat for beat, these guys find themselves against what looks to be a cross between a skinwalker and the Predator. While there are plenty of small moments where comedy and horror meet, Deer Camp 86 still manages to pull off some big stunts and horror sequences. While this movie most likely was done on a budget, filmmaker L. Van Dyke Siboutszen is able to make it feel like a much bigger production, utilizing the expansive forests and getting some big action out of simple and creative settings. One of the biggest sequences reflects that kind of get your hands dirty attitude, yet retains its humorous side, where the monster tosses the hunter's truck over a cliff, and as it comes to the rest at the bottom, the car explodes. And of course, this explosion is replayed 3 or 4 times from different angles. It's that kind of gratuitous comic fun that this film does so well, as it feels, on top of everything else, this is a satire on those macho guy movies that permeated the 80s. During my countdown, this was a suggestion floated my way, and I'm glad I listened. If anyone else wants to send me any suggestions, let me know in the comments. I read them all. Deer Camp 86 is a big old fun time. It knows it's a low-budget horror romp and seems damn proud of it. This is going to be too overly masculine for some, but if you like loud, obnoxious, rude, and occasionally shocking horror that still manages to elicit emotion and scares, this is one hunting horror movie you should put in your sights. Well, those were a couple of low-budget films that I saw recently. Have you seen any of these? Are you interested in checking them out? Let me know why or why not down in the comments. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be. Stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're